This video is the first part of Introduction to Array. Let's go through the points one by one. Arrays are specialized data structure which allow us to build a collection of variables. They are called elements and they are being referred to by the same array name. So in this table here you can see I've allocated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 memory space, and each one is referred to as an element. So this would be the first element. This is the second element. And each element can be used to store some values. It could be any data type that you declare the array with. So what differentiates this element is, let's say if we have this array, we are using it just strictly to store odd numbers. So we can declare it as use a proper name for it. If we are going to use it to store odd numbers only, we can just call it odd numbers, and this array should store, let's say we have 7 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to call it 7. So all of these will start off with the same variable name, odd numbers. Each element is odd numbers, and the only thing that makes them different is the index. The index always starts off with 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the first element, that first memory space that is reserved in the computer to store a value, that would be called our first element. Okay, the first element it would be called odd numbers square bracket 0. Okay, that is our first one. That points to that. Then this size of elements it may hold is set when the array is declared. So when we are trying to create this memory space for storing all these elements, we have to think of the numbers that we need. So if we need to store 7 different values, when we declare, we would call it, let's say it's integer type, because this is for storing odd numbers, followed by 7. Then the size of the array cannot be changed. It requires all of the elements in the array to have the same data type. So every element here can only be integer. So this is fairly straightforward. An element is a name given to one of the values stored in the array. If the array is declared, stored 5 values, it is said to have 5 elements. We have 7 during declaration, so we have 7 elements. The index is the integer that uniquely identifies each element in the array. Starts typically at 0. So by the time you get to 7 elements, the index is always 1 less. So 7 minus 1 is 6. In our class, we have used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is just to make it easier to understand. But in real programming, we always start off with 0. So let's say if outside of declaration, let's say if we need to store the value 45, we want to store it inside the third element. So what we would do is we would do something like this: odd numbers. So the third element will have the index of 2. 45. That's what we do during operation. Let's say if we want to find the total sum of the fourth element and the fifth element, we would do something like sum. So if we need the fourth element and the fifth, we just do it like what we do with normal variables. The only thing you have to pay attention to is the index number. Just make sure you get it right. So why do we use array? We use it if we do not know the number of variables we require until it is time to run the program. So let's say if we only need 3 odd numbers, we could still declare 7 of it reserved in the memory space, but we don't need to use all 7. We could use only the first 3 or first 4 or any number less than the reserved space. Point number 2, for a large number of variables that would be difficult to assign unique names. Let's say if we need to store 5,000 odd numbers, we are not going to go through declaring each variable 5,000 times. That would take a long time. So instead we can just declare it as an array, put whatever number we need, the number of elements, inside the square bracket. Requirement to implement a search or sort mechanism within your program logic. So this is easier to find any specific elements inside the array. Say we have 5,000. If we need to look for the element number 3,000, we just put odd numbers, 3,000 minus 1, 2999 in the square bracket. The need to improve program performance. Sometimes when you need to use loop, it is easier for you to use arrays, because you can also manipulate the index using simple increment or decrement as well. That's all for part 1.